am really hoping that Martell and I can be cordial, but here we go. He's already lying. But you know what? I'm gonna try to be the bigger person. I haven't seen my kids in 2 weeks because he's had them for his 2 weeks.
Okay, family, let me set the scene for you because this one right here is wild. Imagine thinking you finally secured your moment in the spotlight after years of waiting on the sidelines, only to have the door slammed shut in your face again, louder, harder, and more humiliating than before. That's exactly what went down with Martell Holt and Arionne Curry. You'd think the lessons of the past would have humbled them, but no. They keep trying to force a storyline that the network, the cast, and the fans simply do not want. And this time, it backfired so badly that it has the whole internet talking. Martell Holt has once again found himself banned, yes, banned from Love and Marriage Huntsville. And as if that wasn't enough, Arionne Curry, the woman who's been waiting for years to step into the reality TV world, was reportedly kicked out before she even made it through the door. The audacity, the chaos, the sheer desperation, it's almost cinematic. But here's the twist. This isn't just about a TV rejection.
I don't want to do that.
I think it'd be a lot easier to keep the kids in one house. All their stuff is here. All Melani's baby stuff is in there. Her changing table, her sleeping station.
Hey, Martell, I don't want to go over there.
Well, I think that you...
But me coming here was not an agreement for me to go over there. The agreement was that I was going to come here and you were going to be there. So don't let me get in Huntsville and you switch stuff up.
Okay, well, think about that.
This is about betrayal, control, and a man who cannot accept that his reign as Huntsville's Chaos King might finally be over. So grab your snacks, because what I'm about to unpack will have you questioning not only Martell's motives, but also the very future of the show itself. Martell Holt wasn't always the scandal-plagued figure we know today. Back in the early seasons of Love and Marriage Huntsville, he was introduced as a successful builder, a husband, and a father. He and Melody Sheree were supposed to represent Black excellence, building businesses and wealth together while showing the world the power of love and partnership. At first glance, they had it all: the picture-perfect family, the dream home, the thriving careers. But behind the polished image, cracks were already forming. What viewers didn't see right away was the infidelity, the lies, and the betrayal brewing beneath the surface. Martell's affair with Arionne Curry, a younger woman who would later be known as the Other Woman, became the unraveling of not only his marriage, but his entire reputation. For years, he denied it, minimized it, or blamed everyone but himself. But the truth couldn't stay hidden. When it finally came out, it shattered Melody, shook fans, and forever tainted the way people saw Martell. And here's the thing. Instead of quietly taking accountability and working on himself, Martell doubled down. He flaunted his relationship with Arionne even when it hurt his children, even when it embarrassed him in public. He made her a central part of his drama, dragging her name into headlines again and again, as if the scandal itself gave him oxygen. Meanwhile, Melody walked away. She filed for divorce, rebuilt her life, and turned her pain into power. And fans rallied behind her, seeing her as the woman who chose self-respect over humiliation. Martell, though, he couldn't let go of the chaos. And Arionne, she believed that by standing by him, her moment of validation would come. She thought that if she waited long enough, the network would reward her loyalty by bringing her into the cast. But year after year, that door never opened. Instead, she became a punchline, a symbol of misplaced devotion, and a reminder of the destruction Martell left behind. Now here's where the latest drama explodes. According to insiders, Martell went back to the network once again, practically begging them to let Arionne join the show. He pitched her as fresh energy, someone who could shake up the cast and bring new drama. He tried to sell the idea that fans would want to see her entrepreneurial side, her story, her perspective, but the producers weren't buying it. Their response? A flat-out rejection. And it wasn't just a quiet no. Reportedly, the rejection was so firm that it came with consequences. Martell was told he'd crossed the line, again. He wasn't just denied, he was effectively blacklisted from pushing Arionne into the show. The word banned has been thrown around, and it looks like the network finally decided enough was enough. But the humiliation didn't stop there. Insiders claim Arionne was waiting outside during one of these meetings, expecting to be introduced, expecting her big debut. Instead, she was told directly that she wasn't welcome, that she wasn't going to be part of the cast, and that she needed to stop assuming otherwise. Imagine the embarrassment. Years of waiting, years of public hope, and then being told point blank that you don't belong. Fans are already making jokes online, calling it the eviction before the arrival. What nobody expected, though, was Martell's reaction. Instead of backing down, he reportedly lashed out at producers, accusing them of protecting Melody and silencing him. Witnesses say he stormed out in anger, while Arionne cried in the hallway, blaming Melody yet again for ruining her chance. The drama was so over the top that crew members allegedly compared it to a soap opera scene. But here's the real kicker. Leaked messages suggest Martell begged Arionne afterward to keep quiet about what happened. He didn't want the world to know he'd been rejected, again. He allegedly alternated between comforting her with promises that her time was coming and then blaming her for not being marketable enough. This only fueled the belief that Martell uses Arionne as a pawn, keeping her on standby whenever he needs a distraction from his own downfall. The emotional toll of all this is undeniable. For Melody, the rejection of Arionne was a victory, one more sign that her boundaries are respected, even in her absence. She's been focusing on her music, her businesses, and her healing, showing fans what moving forward really looks like. But for Martell and Arionne, the rejection deepened the cycle of dysfunction. Arionne has spent years believing that loyalty to Martell would pay off. She sacrificed her reputation, endured public ridicule, and stood in the shadows while he paraded her in and out of the spotlight. Yet every time, the result has been the same: humiliation. Watching him beg producers for her spot only to fail again must have been devastating. For Martell, the constant rejections reinforce what fans have been saying all along: he's no longer the star. His antics aren't entertaining, they're exhausting. And the public? They're fed up. Social media exploded with hashtags calling for Martell's permanent removal from the show. Fans celebrated Arionne's rejection as if it were a holiday, calling it justice for Melody and the ultimate slap in the face to Martell's ego. Sponsors have reportedly grown uneasy too, worried about being associated with the toxicity Martell brings. In today's climate, no brand wants to be tied to scandal and public outrage. So what does this mean for Martell and Arionne moving forward? That's the million-dollar question. Some believe Martell is spiraling, clinging to Arionne not out of love, but out of desperation for relevance. Others think Arionne is trapped in a cycle she doesn't even realize, waiting for approval from a man who will never give her what she wants. The irony is almost poetic. Melody, the woman Martell betrayed, is thriving. She's glowing, traveling, performing, and living her best life. Meanwhile, Martell is begging for scraps of attention, and Arionne is still waiting in the wings for a spotlight that will never shine on her. And maybe that's the most painful part: the realization that loyalty to the wrong person can cost you everything. Arionne believed Martell would make her a star, but all she got was heartbreak and rejection. Martell believed he could outsmart the network, the fans, and even his ex-wife, but all he got was another ban and more public humiliation. So here we are, watching in real time as Martell Holt and Arionne Curry's storyline collapses under its own weight. The question now isn't whether Arionne will ever join the show, it's whether Martell himself has finally burned his last bridge. Because once the network, the cast, the fans, and even the sponsors turn against you, what's left? Nothing but the silence of doors closing. And that, family, is the cruel reality of this saga. Sometimes the spotlight isn't yours to claim. Sometimes the stage is no longer yours to stand on. And sometimes, no matter how hard you try, the world just says, not today. Now, family, let's slow this all down and really sit with what just happened, because this ending is not just another messy moment in Martell Holt's life, it's a full circle collapse that says everything about loyalty, betrayal, and the consequences of choices. Think about it. Martell has been given chance after chance. Networks have tolerated him, fans have debated about him, and even his castmates have carried his chaos for the sake of keeping the show alive. But when you burn too many bridges, eventually there's no one left willing to stand beside you. That's the point Martell has reached. And let's talk about Arionne. For years, she has believed her time was coming. She convinced herself that standing by Martell, no matter how badly he treated her, would eventually open the door to fame and validation. She believed the humiliation would be worth it. But what did she get? Nothing but public rejection and tears in a hallway. That moment, her waiting outside, thinking she was finally about to be welcomed, only to be told once again that she didn't belong, that's a wound deeper than any headline. It's the tragedy of chasing a man who never saw you as more than a pawn. Martell didn't fight for her out of love. He fought for her because he thought she could still serve as his storyline, his ticket back into the spotlight. And when that plan failed, he turned around and blamed her for not being marketable enough. That is not devotion. That is manipulation. That is control. The saddest part is that Arionne still doesn't seem to see it. Instead of walking away, she holds tighter, believing the next time will be different, believing that eventually the world will see her value. But family, here's the harsh truth. Validation doesn't come from a man who keeps you hidden until it's convenient. It doesn't come from a producer's approval or a camera crew's nod. Real worth comes from within. And until Arionne realizes that, she will keep repeating this cycle of waiting, hoping, and breaking. For Martell, the consequences are even heavier. He is no longer the man who was once celebrated as part of Huntsville's power couple. He's no longer seen as the builder, the leader, or the visionary. He's become the example of what happens when ego destroys everything you've built. Fans don't root for him anymore. They watch him the way you watch a slow-motion car crash, shocked, horrified, but unable to look away. And here's where it gets emotional. Martell has children who will grow up and see all of this. They'll watch the clips, they'll read the headlines, and they'll know how their father behaved in public. That is a legacy heavier than any television ban. That's the kind of pain no PR spin can erase. When your children become old enough to ask, "Daddy, why did you fight so hard for another woman instead of protecting Mommy? Why did you embarrass us for a storyline?" What answer could possibly be enough? The network's decision to shut the door on Martell and Arionne wasn't just business. It was a statement, a line in the sand that said, this is where the circus ends. Reality TV thrives on drama, but there's a difference between entertainment and toxicity. And when viewers, sponsors, and castmates all say enough, the network has no choice but to act. Fans are already celebrating this as a win for Melody. They see it as the universe finally giving her justice after years of public humiliation. But deeper than that, it's a lesson about what happens when you choose self-respect over chaos. Melody walked away. She stopped begging, she stopped arguing, and she chose herself. Look at her now, thriving, glowing, booked, and busy. That's what healing looks like. Compare that to Martell. He doubled down on mess. He tried to force the world to accept a story nobody wanted, and now he's left banned, embarrassed, and irrelevant. That's what ego looks like. So where do they go from here? Maybe Martell will try another desperate stunt. Maybe Arionne will continue to post cryptic messages online, hoping fans will finally understand her side. But the truth is, the audience has spoken. The people are done. And when the people are done, no network can save you. Family, the ending here is not just about a rejection from a reality show. It's about choices. It's about a man who chose his ego over his family, his pride over his peace, and his chaos over his children. It's about a woman who chose to wait for a man who never planned to deliver, and in the process, lost herself. And it's about another woman, Melody, who chose herself and showed the world that walking away is sometimes the most powerful thing you can do. That's the story. 3 different paths, 3 different outcomes. One ends in humiliation, one ends in heartbreak, and one ends in triumph. So as we close this chapter, let's ask ourselves, what lesson do we take from all this? Because drama aside, this is about more than Martell and Arionne. It's about knowing when to let go of toxic cycles. It's about understanding that love without respect is not love at all. And it's about realizing that sometimes rejection is protection in disguise. Martell may still be out there plotting his next move. Arionne may still be clinging to hope, but the world has already moved on, and that, family, is the most devastating truth of all. The cameras may stop rolling, but the consequences don't. The spotlight may fade, but the scars remain. And no matter how much Martell tries to rewrite the narrative, one fact will always stand. He was given everything, and he lost it all. That's where we leave it tonight. Martell banned, Arionne kicked out, and Melody rising higher than ever. A story of downfall, denial, and dignity. Now, I want to hear from you. Do you think Martell can ever come back from this? Will Arionne finally wake up and realize she's been used? Or is this the last chapter in the Holt saga we've been watching unfold for years? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this discussion, just like Martell's drama, will keep going long after the cameras stop rolling. And remember this, no matter how messy, no matter how loud, the truth always finds its way out. And in this case, the truth is simple. The empire Martell thought he controlled is gone. The woman he tried to force into the spotlight was denied. And the only one still standing strong is the one he tried to break. That, family, is what real power looks like.